talking Joe podcast, minds in motion. Talk about relationships, help your emotions. Behavior management when your kids start to losing it. Talk about life and all the confusion. Minds in motion. Minds in motion. Talk about relationships. I'm talking Joe podcast, minds in motion. Talk about relationships, help your emotions. Behavior management when your kids start to losing it. Talk about life and all the confusion. Minds in motion. Minds in motion. Talk about relationships. About relationships.
Good evening and welcome to Minds in Motion with me, your host, Jewel. Tonight is my first episode and I'm so excited to be doing this show, bringing awareness to you, the viewing audience. Tonight, we're going to be live on Facebook, TDN Network 1, Facebook, YouTube, and we're going to be on TDN Radio, Facebook, on TDN, and also on Instagram. I want to welcome you all to Minds in Motion. And Minds in Motion, let me just tell you a little bit about what Minds in Motion is, introduce myself, and then I'll introduce the guest that we have on for tonight. My name is Jewel. I am a child needs practitioner, and I've been doing this for just over 2 decades. Don't let the nice glowing skin fool you. I have a lot of experience in the field, and I have fun doing it. It's also my passion. I specialize in working with individuals with neurodivergence and also mental health and social emotional issues. So I do work in a setting that has all of these issues that I deal with on a daily basis. But tonight, I have a very special guest because I want to bring awareness to a topic that is near and dear to both of our hearts. The guest that I have on tonight, she is the founder of Find Ontario Missing Boys. Her name is Shayna McCullough, and I'm going to bring her up, if we can bring her up to the podium, the stage, and she will tell us all about her journey being the founder of this organization. So Shayna, welcome to Minds in Motion. So she's muted.
Can you hear me now?
All right. Welcome, Shayna, to Minds in Motion.
Okay.
Welcome. Thank you for being here. I know that it's a tough topic to talk about, but it's one that really needs to gain some awareness and spread some knowledge about this topic. And I'm glad that you decided to come on to Minds in Motion to kind of tease our minds a little bit and to give us some knowledge about this topic. So welcome to Minds in Motion.
Thanks so much for having me.
Okay. So first of all, I just wanted to ask you tell us a little bit about your background. Tell us, the viewing audience, a little bit about your background and how you got into this.
So I kind of, I guess I call myself now an accidental advocate. I didn't really foresee myself or this initiative being birthed till it was already, the train was sort of left the station already. And initially, how the missing boys came to my attention was through a friend. And they contacted me saying that they live in Durham region, east end of the GTA. And they contacted me saying that, that there was boys missing in their area, 3 boys at the time. And that was concerning to the single dad because he didn't hear any of their names on the news. There was no attention around the boys that were missing. So he was just um, contacting me to ask me if I had heard anything, which I
Mhm.
hadn't. And then 2 weeks after that, I got a YouTube video sent to me with naming 6 boys that were missing. Seeing their faces and hearing their names, it really struck me as odd that no one was talking about it, and that it was largely being ignored in the mainstream media. And at that point, I used my platform, Roots Reggae Hub, which is an internet radio platform that we broadcast in 228 countries worldwide. And that platform took off before the podcast era, and I amassed a pretty good, decent size of followers worldwide. And I just used that platform to highlight the at the time I didn't know it was a crisis. Now I do, but to highlight the boys that were currently missing. And by the end of 2024, going into Christmas, there was 13 boys, so it
Yeah,
escalated pretty quickly.
yeah, absolutely.
And after that, families started reaching out to me. The post went viral. I reached 10 million people in a matter of days.
Mm-hmm.
And Shaka Khan had shared my post, Teddy
Wow.
Riley, some
Yeah.
some major celebrities. Just and then there was a lot of speculation, and a lot of people wondering, like conspiracies, like organ donations, organ harvesting, or whatever you want to call it, and like serial killers, and people were panicking really, and
Hmm.
when the series of town halls were launched.
Okay. Um, wow, that happened so quickly for you, I can imagine. And I'm sure you didn't imagine that that impact, you would make such an impact on such a in such a short time. Now, the boys that are missing, so the boys that are going missing, I've been kind of following you on your page to kind of understand a little bit more about where it's happening. And I work with young boys all the time, and I see and hear the things that they're looking for. And it's fast money and it's easy money, and they're easily influenced sometimes by older people. Um, the zones that you talk about, the red zones, you talked about some kind of cities across Ontario. Um, Tell us a little bit more about the red zones.
Yeah, the red zones are areas north of the city. So the list keeps growing as we
Mhm.
locate boys in different areas. Um, and essentially, these are areas that are remote, typically Sarnia, Aurelia, Thunder Bay. Um, Really, it's not border cities too: Niagara, London, Windsor. It's cities that typically you would think that Black boys, diverse boys, would stand out.
Right.
Um, a lot of people are like, what? Like, when they stand out? But the thing is, these boys are kept indoors 24/7. They're not walking around in the public where you would see
Mhm.
them.
Mhm.
So there's no opportunity for them to stand out.
Mhm.
These organizations are very sophisticated. They have their own drivers. They have their own food delivery. They have their own network, really, that move these boys around to different locations, and they really move underground, like in underground, out of sight.
Yeah.
And people say that these boys are lured by fast money, but I think it's a lot more than that. It's a lot more sinister than that. And the
Mhm.
promise of money might be there. Do they get that money? Um,
Mhm.
all the time? That's really not guaranteed.
Yeah.
Does it go through their hands? Perhaps, but do they end up with a large amount of money? I've heard firsthand from a missing boy, or a boy that has been groomed into this lifestyle, that the money doesn't stay with him. So
Mhm.
I can't speak for every boy, but the lifestyle that is glorified is not the lifestyle that, or the outcome that is the case.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
that's presented to them. And I
mhm.
kind of wanted you to highlight the zones and you've actually very sophisticatedly you went into why you explained why these boys should be standing out, but they don't necessarily stand out because they're being hidden. They're being groomed. They're being essentially kidnapped, right? Or abducted. Um, so Can we touch on a little bit about the most, I wouldn't say the most recent one. I have dates here. Jakai, not Jakai Jack, Josiah.
Josiah Weblong, yeah. Um, he is, sorry, I get emotional when I talk about him because
Mhm.
I care a lot about the family, and I hate getting emotional, but it's hard for me. I'm very close with the family, and I know that they're going through a lot of pain right now. He went missing from Brampton, and he ended up in Pelican Narrows, which is a remote reserve, First Nations reserve, which is about 10 hours north of Saskatoon, depending on how fast you drive.
Mhm.
No cell phone service out there. There's also an area that was evacuated by the wildfires that happened
Mhm.
in 2025. His case is really disturbing because a child from Brampton ends up somewhere so far from home. And, there's no contact with family since May. So, yeah, I'm not sure how much you want to know about that, but
Yeah.
it's a case that um, it's the worst case scenario. You don't want to n- come. We're coming up to March. We're in
Mhm.
January now,
Anniversary.
and
Mhm.
March will be a year since his family has seen him.
Yeah. And from what I understand from what the clippings that you've posted on your Instagram page, police did track him down, and that's how you know that he's in Saskatchewan. And but what are they doing? What are the next steps now that they've tracked him down?
So right now, the RCMP is calling for any tips, any leads. They're still actively investigating his case. A lot of what um, it's hard. I can't share too much about the case,
Yes,
to be
yes, I
honest,
understand.
because of the active investigation.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and there's no way I would want to, give too much information out that would
Right, right.
ultimately affect the case. And but I'll tell you that foul play is suspected in his case. And they're taking it very seriously, and I call them often. And I'm heading to Saskatchewan, me and a family member, possibly more than one family member at this point. Uh,
Hmm.
the delay was due to the weather. It's going to be very hard. Like right now, it's minus 30 or more out there.
Hmm.
There's snow on the ground, very difficult to maneuver, and it was also difficult for them to travel over the holidays, and it's a hard time to travel to
Yeah.
that area. But as soon as the spring comes, we will be going there. My team and I, as well as the family, we haven't given up on finding him, and we're going to find him, and we're going to find answers for the family.
Thank you for sharing that. I was going to ask you what the plans were around Saskatchewan traveling there, and so you answered that question already. I appreciate that, and I can only imagine what the family's going through and what you're experiencing as well. I don't have any children of my own, but I do work with children every day, and I do work with troubled youth, and I work with youth that are not troubled, and I understand sometimes the way that youth think, and sometimes um, the families, sometimes they understand what's happening, and sometimes they read messages the wrong way. And I kind of want to get into the signs. So the signs of being trafficked, because this is essentially what's happening, right? These boys are being trafficked.
100%, they're being
Yeah.
human trafficked. I'll tell you right now, and I hate to use this example, but I feel like as Black people, this is an example that people can understand. Um, when Harriet Tubman, tried to free the slaves, right, in the Underground Railroad, um, she tried to free as many as she could. Some
Hmm.
wouldn't leave, some refused to leave. Others left with her, were free, and then returned to the
Hmm.
plantation. Okay.
Hmm.
These boys don't understand even the concept that they have been human trafficked. Their young
Hmm.
minds cannot wrap their head around it. And unfortunately, the grooming process is sometimes it takes weeks up to years, and by the time these boys under full control by these predators, they feel like they have some sort of choice in the matter, but really they don't, right?
Right.
And quite often, once you're told, oh, you'll only be gone for a week or whatever, a week turns into two, or 2 weeks turns into 2 months, 2 months turns into
Mhm.
2 years, and
Mhm.
your family hasn't seen you or heard from you. In the worst case scenario, there are deadly outcomes, right? Where parents never see their children again.
Yeah.
And I've spoken to mothers early on in this work, in my advocacy work, that their sons went missing in 2021 and 2022 and were found deceased in other provinces.
Right.
So that is the worst case scenario.
Mhm.
Signs of trafficking that you need to look out for: your child comes home with a bunch of cell phones that you didn't purchase, or a cell phone that you didn't purchase for them, a pair of Jordans, track suits, clothing and accessories that you never purchased for them.
Mhm.
Things like meeting older friends, hanging out with older friends. Quite often, they use slightly older boys to lure in the younger boys. They're targeting boys as young as 9 years old. So
Yeah.
your child, even a 9-year-old boy, is not safe. Um, Nobody in any area is safe. Nobody in any suburban area is safe. This is not specifically a problem of low income socioeconomic areas. This is a problem spanning across middle income and higher income families. This is a problem that is spanning to two parent household families.
Mhm.
So a lot of the stereotypes need to be thrown out the window.
Yeah.
And another disgusting stereotype that I hate is the single mom or the bad parenting aspect, and that our community is constantly talking about. And I just want to say right now, it has nothing to do with bad parenting.
Mhm.
I've met families and sat in their homes where both parents are present. Both parents are highly educated, have great jobs, over six figures. Child has everything, and the son can still get swept up by been to criminal organizations that prey on
Yeah.
our children because they feel that nobody cares about Black boys,
Mhm.
nobody's protecting them, nobody's looking for them, and therefore they are disposable to us, and they're disposable to the authorities and to the system
Yeah.
itself, the system that is literally swallowing them, because we represent more than 50% of the missing children per year. And I don't even know how long that statistic has lasted, because they've refused to give me the data.
Really?
File a Freedom of Information's Act to get the last 5 years of data. They're stonewalling my Freedom of Information's Act. And, it's very unfortunate, and I won't stop. And I'm a very determined person.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the safety and the lives of our children, they need to someone needs to stand up for them. And if
And
that's,
and be held accountable.
yeah,
What do they say to you? Like I've seen you asking about the Amber Alerts. Why aren't Amber Alerts happening for our Black boys, our Black children? Why aren't they happening?
they will never happen. They don't qualify. They will never happen. Amber Alerts have very strict criteria. You have to see the child being pushed into a vehicle. You have to have a vehicle description. You have to have a suspect description. You have to have multiple things. Like there's 4 or 5 different qualifications. Typically, when you get an Amber Alert on your phone, it's a parental abduction.
Mhm.
And that's really it. And if they did Amber Alerts for our boys, your phone would be going off 3 4 times a day. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Mhm.
really bad. When we find one boy, another boy is gone. Because, like I said, when these boys get caught up in certain circumstances, found in a home of an adult, a 46-year-old woman, or an adult 47-year-old, these are the type of sick people that have our children, grown
Yeah.
ass women and grown ass adults.
Yeah.
Sometimes they look like us. A lot of times they don't.
Mhm.
They're not Black people, and they have our kids. And there's no consequence for them. There's no charge of human trafficking. As a matter of fact, predominantly our boys get charged with things that are found in these adults' homes,
Mm.
and then they're criminalized.
Right.
And then they have to go through the judicial system, and they have to endure more trauma, and they don't get victim services
Mhm.
that would allow them to speak on what they've experienced. Have they been drugged? Have they been starved? Were they held against their will? There's not an opportunity to speak on their experiences, and that's the saddest part. the whole system needs to be rerouted, uprooted, and fixed essentially, because it's
Mhm.
completely broken and it's not working.
Wow. Um, I want you to before like the hour really goes by really quickly. So
Yeah.
before we get too far into things, I want you to talk about your GoFundMe page, and if you can mention it. I didn't have an opportunity to give it to the producer to do a banner for it, but if you can just talk about your GoFundMe page and how that's going for you.
Yeah, the GoFundMe page, I haven't checked it in a while. I don't really promote it,
Mhm.
honestly, and I think the people that have donated are probably the family members that I've helped.
Yes.
And I don't ask them for help. I think, most of those donations are anonymous, and I don't know who's donating. I think one person that donated reached out to me, and we had a great conversation, and I thanked
Mhm.
her. But it wasn't a parent that I had helped or a family that I had helped. But she was so sincere, and she just wanted more information. We had a great talk. Um, but yeah, I would think I've raised just over $2,000 over the last year.
Okay.
I'm fully self-funded. I have funded every single trip, other than, of course, the funds that covered like the 2,000 was helpful. But yeah, I've fully self-funded. I put a lot more time and blood, sweat, and tears into this
Yeah.
than that, and I'm so grateful for what has been donated. It has helped, but I'm hoping to secure some funding through the nonprofit, and that basically is powering this. I run a nonprofit, which I actually started a couple months before Find Ontario Missing Boys was activated, and I'm hoping now to use that to start preventative programs that can help with this epidemic that we're facing.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
but it's a process, and we'll see where that goes.
Absolutely. Have you thought about getting into the schools to talk to the youth themselves about things that you've experienced with families to just say, this is happening? I know sometimes um, youth, they feel that they're invincible and that this is not going to happen to me. It can never happen to me. But have you ever explored the idea of getting into the schools and just talking to the youth directly?
Yeah, I have. I want to do a school tour. That's on my to do list for 2026. I'm also going to be doing another town hall, which is set to be in March right now. It was supposed to happen end of last year, 2025, but because of the hurricane, I'm a Jamaican, and
Mhm.
the entire Jamaican community was devastated. And I'm a board member of the Jamaican Canadian Association. I'm the director of communications there.
Okay.
So the town hall was supposed to happen at the Jamaican Canadian Association, but it was supposed to happen in late November, early December was what our target was. But because of the Hurricane Melissa, the priority had shifted, unfortunately, and or fortunately, because Jamaicans needed our help,
Right. Yeah.
and we rallied around Jamaica at that time. And for that, all of our resources went towards sending the barrels and the emergency relief, and raising the funds to send to Jamaica. So yeah, it was postponed, and so look out for that date. It's going to be in March, right
Okay.
after Black History Month. And I'm also speaking at a panel in Ajax on January 21st. I'll probably share more info on that on Instagram. But I was interviewed for the Fifth Estate,
Oh, wow.
and
Nice.
the Fifth Estate episode is premiering on that weekend, the January 22nd weekend. I believe it's on YouTube, and also obviously broadcasted across national television.
Okay.
So I believe one or two families that I worked with are in that episode. One for sure, and then the father that is in the article that I shared, the Toronto Star article by Jason Miller, the father
Okay.
that went to Thunder Bay with his wife, and they stayed out there for I think they're out there for like a week until they
Mhm.
were able to rescue their own son. So
Yeah.
he's in that episode, and another family member is that I helped
Mhm.
is also in that episode. And they came to one of my town halls where they did some filming and interviewed me very briefly. So
Mhm.
I'm interested to see how that episode has turned out. I really hope that they did a good job with it, and I trust that they did.
Yeah, and not cut out the important information that needs to be out there.
Yeah, because they're gonna get different sides of the story and whatnot, and I could very well be biased because I work with the families. My loyalty is to the families and to the boys,
Mm-hmm.
100%. So we'll see how that turns out. I really hope they did a good job. I have faith that they did.
Okay.
But it premieres on the January 21st weekend, and then we are doing a live screening where they've invited schools and children
Mm-hmm.
and teenagers out. I'll share the Eventbrite link in the
Okay.
stories at some point. But I'm speaking on a panel for that, but I'm also working on my own documentary series that's currently in development. It's a 3-part series. This
Mm-hmm.
is for educational purposes, and I hope that the schools, once it's done, will show it. Still
Yeah.
early development, and I don't like to talk about things until they're done. But
Right.
yeah, some educational pieces, and the website, of course, needs to be launched as well with some educational pieces, preventative tools, just to help families to really spot the red flags before
Yes.
before it's too late. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I mean, I saw your list, and because I am in the school system, we do see the list is very, very. It's almost identical to the sex trafficking uh, signs to look out for. Pretty much identical to
Mhm.
that kind of that list. So, it would be helpful even for not just the youth but the parents to see uh, the documentary as
Oh yeah,
well. Um,
100%. They need
so
to
you, so
protect
you
the
said you
boys.
want to do a screening for the students? Is that what you're saying? You want to?
It is for the students.
Okay.
They're the Fifth Estate episode. They've invited schools. It's going to be January 21st in Ajax. I'll share the link. I can't remember the venue right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then it'll air on television that weekend. And then I think it's really important for people to know, yeah, it's identical to sex trafficking. They
Yeah.
befriend them, they lure them, they groom them, and similar to sex
Mhm.
trafficking, the victims of sex trafficking often go back to their
Yeah.
to their pimps, and unfortunately it takes a long time for them to understand that you have been sex trafficked.
Yeah.
And it's the same with the boys, and I know a lot of boys follow me um because they've reached out, and
Mhm.
teenage boys, and the ones that were missing and then found. I've talked to them, some of them that have reached out, a handful, and I want them to know they are victims of human trafficking. They might feel powerful in the moment, but you're not
Mhm.
powerful.
Mhm.
And you are actually disposable, and if you get hurt, they're not taking you to the emergency room.
Right.
Just like the boy that I shared who was missing, and then he ended up dead in a basement in Thunder Bay. That I shared that his story as well. He was 16, he went missing. 18, he was dead in Thunder Bay. So
Yeah.
these avenues are never the way to go.
Mhm.
But the city has to work on the youth unemployment rate. The city has so much work to do for our kids, and
Yeah.
they're failing. They're failing the kids.
Yeah. I know. The city, along with the major, like the biggest board in Toronto, has they during the pandemic or just after the pandemic, when that whole George Floyd thing came out, they pushed towards an anti-Black racism agenda. But then it just, to me, it's almost like PR. We're going to do this just to appease this community and not really do much work for these people. They're saying they're doing things, but what is really happening? Because the boys are still missing, and the suspensions are still happening, and things are still happening that are negative in our community, not really to help us. So, you know, the mayor, when she was interviewed on Brandon Gomes' show, she kind of like pushed it back to the police. She took it off for herself and said, the police are not my issue. That's their issue. And so
Mhm.
you can't question me about what they're doing, you know?
Pretty
So
much,
it's like push the envelope to the next person, you know, push the
yeah.
blame on someone else. It's not my problem. It's their
Yeah.
problem.
When I showed up for Holly Roy to the march that they did earlier last year, I showed up in support and solidarity. They asked me to actually speak, so I showed up at with them, and I marched with them. And then, even though I don't really necessarily agree with all of the what they're calling for, because I don't agree I'm not aligned in what they're asking for specifically, because obviously I want to end an end to gun violence. Everyone does. Zero gun violence movement was created for a reason. But at the same time, harsher penalties is what they were calling for in that protest. And I don't believe that harsher penalties for youth is the answer here. I think that putting human traffickers, giving penalties to the human trafficking, the adults that are preying on our children, I think that's where to start, rather than trying to lock up children for extended periods of time, providing therapies and preventative programs to them, and fixing this problem that the city is ignoring, that Olivia Chow is ignoring. I saw her there at the protest, and I said, listen, I'm Shayna McCullough. I've reached out to you multiple times. I'm the
Mhm.
founder of Find Ontario Missing Boys. I know what's happening. I know what's happening.
Yeah.
I said, you have no idea what's happening. You have absolutely no clue what's happening, because you're too busy with the Blue Jays,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
too busy dancing at Caravana. You're
Yeah.
too busy
Yeah.
doing all these things.
Mhm.
And you're not really focused on what is actually happening, because locking up boys does not prevent a human trafficker from coming back and taking another boy and putting them back
Mhm.
in another trap house. And
Yeah.
then that child gets caught in the trap house, he gets locked up, and they replace him with another boy.
Yeah.
When does it end? When does
Yeah.
it end? So what I say to Olivia Chow, and I won't even address Doug Ford because it's a waste of time,
Mhm.
is get your priorities straight. And at this point, my petition, if you've seen it and if you follow it, over 13,000 people do, and they get updates, at change.org/find Ontario Missing Boys. The petition is no longer addressed to Olivia Chow because it's a waste of my time.
Mhm.
And it's addressed to the Solicitor General, who will be dealing with directly. And he oversees the police forces. And, and I don't even know, nationally, federally. Um, at this point, I want the attention of a lot of mayors have sat with me. The mayor of Whitby, the mayor of Aurelia, Sarnia, the red zone mayors need to pay attention, and they have access to their OPP in those areas. So, I connect with all of them, and it's just something that needs to be moved up. I can't focus on Mayor Olivia Chow or Doug Ford.
Mhm. All right. Hold that thought. Hold your thoughts. We're going to take a quick break and come back if you need to take a drink just to freshen up your, maybe. I know it's a lot.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break and be right back.
Okay, great. Thanks.
I'm talking Joe podcast, minds in motion. Talk about relationships, help your emotions, behavior.
Presented by
Running a radio station shouldn't be chaos. It should be simple, smart, and professional. With Joan Premium, your entire week schedule is beautifully organized and easy to manage. Real-time accuracy keeps your listeners in sync with every show. Your visitors and audience sees the right schedule every time, wherever they are. They can even choose different time zones. From analytics to social media and native app integration, Joan Premium is the professional tool your station deserves. You're never alone. We provide priority support for active license users. We're building a community. Connect with broadcasters worldwide through our Joan Community Hubs. Choose your plan, annual flexibility, or lifetime freedom. Get Joan Premium today. www.gndenterprisesinc.com or call 877-698-9894 for more information.
All right. Thank you for that ad, and go and get Joan Premium. So we are here with Shayna McCullough. She is the founder of Find Ontario Missing Boys. We're talking about the grooming process. We're talking about the abduction process. We're talking about the trafficking that's happening with our Black boys, especially. Yes, it's happening in other races, but our numbers are higher by far. So, Shayna, I really, really want to say thank you again for being on Minds in Motion. So you have a lot of things happening right now. So I'm just going to kind of recap. You're going to be supporting the family heading to Saskatchewan. You have the GoFundMe that you didn't mention yet. So maybe I can get that at the end of the show, or maybe when we get off air, and I can post it, the GoFundMe. So we want to be able to help Shayna get to these provinces that are so far. We know it's more expensive to travel within Canada than it is anywhere else. So we want to help her to be funded for that. Even though she says she's self-funded, we want to support her in her journey. Because when it affects one person in our community, it affects our entire community. We're not silos, right? It may not be our immediate family, but they are our community family. Okay. I see a question here, or a comment. I would think that hosting school presentations across all boards would be a good way to spread the good word. A good word, yeah, the word, yes. I was questioning that too, because I would love it to be in my board as well, especially with the students that I work with. So yes, I'm going to ask you across if you're going to be doing that in the Toronto board as well, because you mentioned Ajax Durham. Are you going to be doing that in the Peel and the Toronto boards as well?
All school boards. There are specific schools that are targeted, and I have a list of them. If your child goes to these schools that are higher risk of being human trafficked. So as I prepare my report of my findings over the last year, I will be including those schools, and I'll make those schools public, and I'll be reaching out to those schools specifically, and I will be preparing a presentation for the school boards, the teachers, the social workers, everyone involved, because at the end of the day, when a child falls through the cracks, there's many people, that come across that child before they fall completely through the cracks, right? So there's principals, there's teachers, there's social workers, there's neighbors, there's, it's everyone that needs to be on board here to protect our children. And definitely, absolutely, I'm working on some pamphlets, possibly a newsletter that can go out. I think that's something that will happen when the website is launched.
Yeah.
And that's something that's in the works right now. I was hoping to have it done by January, but it's very, that these things take time. So hopefully I can get that up before the spring, and a newsletter out for sure. More resources. But we are expanding our social media. So we're on X, we're on Facebook, we're on TikTok, and those are really good ways for me to continue spreading or sharing educational information continually until I get the website up and running.
Okay, thanks for that. So we have viewers that are in the Caribbean as well, and this topic is not any different from what's happening in the Caribbean as well. Are you well versed on what's happening in the Caribbean as for similarities?
Yeah, there's similarities. There's a lot. Human trafficking is on the rise, specifically in Jamaica. I watched a video about it the other day. Very concerning. Ohio has a major problem with missing children. They reached a lot of people from that area in the United States reached out to me initially when my post had gone viral. London, the UK, has a major problem with also human trafficking into criminal organizations, and they use boys similar to the way they're using boys here. And yeah, it's not just isolated to Canada. It's definitely not isolated to Ontario. We have already confirmed cross-provincial trafficking with the case of Josiah Webb Long, and I've talked to parents out in Montreal where their children were trafficked from Montreal to Toronto, and vice versa. So this is it's not isolated to Ontario whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I don't know about the rest of the Caribbean, but I'm sure it's happening in other. It's a worldwide global issue, trafficking, and that's why the United Nations have a definition of what human trafficking is. And I tell people all the time, if you look at the definition of human trafficking, the boys are defined there clearly.
Wow. So I don't know how much, if you can even speak on this, but What do the families say, like when talking to their children about being aware of, like, we used to all say stranger danger, right? We teach younger kids that. But as they start to grow older, for some reason, we just stop teaching stranger danger and stop teaching, don't hang out with this one. And it turns into something else. What are the conversations happening? What are they like with those families, if you can share?
With between the families internally, like with them and their children.
Yeah.
So, I don't think that the families that I've worked with their children have been missing, they do not see this coming. It absolutely not. Okay. Um, like for example, a father who I'm very close to, and his wife, one of their son was a gamer. He was always gaming, always inside the house.
Mhm.
And the father said, you need to go outside, make
Mhm.
friends, play basketball. And then, his son his son went missing.
Mhm.
And, we ended up finding him out after 10 months missing. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, so it can happen just like that.
Yes.
And quite often it can look in the form of bullying. So the child is bullied by a slightly older child, and then
Mhm.
that bullying turns into a weird form of friendship. You
Mhm.
have to be really concerned if your child is 12, 13, 14, hanging around with 17, 18, 19-year-old boys.
Yep.
Okay, because they use these older boys that are slightly closer in age, maybe went to the same schools and have since left, that are familiar to your child.
Mhm.
So they don't look like a stranger danger.
Mhm.
It's 3 years older, 4 years older, 5 year older boy who has already been groomed already at the age of 12, 13, who is now 18.
Yeah.
And now they use that child, that young adult, to target your child, right?
Mhm.
So it doesn't always look like the 46-year-old predator that we're end up finding them with, who's the initial contact to your child. It could
Yeah.
look like a peer, someone who's slightly older, who's already been groomed and who's already been, in this criminal organization for multiple years before
Mhm.
they use them to target the younger boys. And it's a
Yeah.
cycle from there. So it's not a situation like in Hollywood where a van pulls up, a black dark van, and your child gets pushed into the van. Like that's not how this is happening.
Mhm.
And that's the Hollywood, angle of human trafficking. And people don't. They're like, "This is not trafficking. They're just OT trap." When I saw in my comment section OT trap, I was like, "What the hell is that?" I didn't even know what it
Yes.
was.
Can
Okay,
you say it again for the parents that are listening? Listen up.
the OT trapping mentality, or comments on my profile. That to me shows a mental illness within the Black community. To be
Mhm.
normalizing this OT trapping business is totally. Honestly, I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed at this point
Yeah.
because
Let's
it's the
give a
same.
definition of it, Shayna, for a sec. OT.
Out of town, out of
Out
town,
of town trapping.
out of
Okay.
town, stuck in a trap house. And you know what? This is literally what it is. I'll tell you right now. When I went to Thunder Bay, how these trap houses look: blood and feces infested. Okay, when we were when I went out there to find a boy out there with his uncle, the conditions of these places, you cannot even. You should be wearing a gas mask over your face because the
Mhm.
smell, the stench alone could knock you out. And so
Yeah.
imagine a 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old boy living in a trap house, getting 1 to 2 hours of sleep per night,
Mhm.
barely sleeping, barely eating, no clothes, okay?
Yeah.
No way out because they're living in a trap house and feeding drugs to addicts 24 hours a day. That is no way for a young man to be growing up and to be
Mhm.
experiencing this. People are overdosing in front of him. People are dying. He can get
Yeah.
shot, killed, robbed in a trap house. Like to be normalizing. Oh, well, he's just OT trapping. He'll come back with a bag. He'll come back with a
Mm.
bag, or he'll come back in a bag. In the bag, he'll come back,
Yeah.
and then he'll be in the ground. So for our community to be normalizing this, it's the most disgusting and disheartening thing I've ever seen in my
Yeah.
life.
I think a lot of that comes from the social media, the music and stuff, trap house, and it's like they glorify these things. And I know a lot of people say the music doesn't influence kids. It sure does. I think it sure does.
Mhm.
And especially things that are, Americanized. Sorry for the Americans that are watching,
Mhm.
but it's true. We as Canadians over here, we look at these things and we're like, oh, we want to be like this. When I say we, I'm talking about the youth. They
Yeah.
glorify what they see on social media, and sometimes they can't differentiate between what's reality and what's fake, right?
Yeah. And
So
you know what? It's definitely a rude awakening when they end up in a dark hole in a place that stinks. Okay, it's not any place. This glorification of a trap house and trapping, no, it's not. I've seen it for myself when I went
mhm,
to Thunder Bay, and it is the most disgusting, deplorable conditions. These places need to be knocked down, demolished,
yeah,
and the First Nations community and the Indigenous community is suffering because every time they get that check, these predators have our boys out there taking
yeah,
the government's money. Okay,
right.
because they
Mhm,
know when the Indigenous people get their government checks, they're ready, lined up, ready
mhm,
for to take that money that they're
yeah,
getting. So
yeah,
this is a huge, major problem, and there should be a task force assigned to this, and
mhm.
a whole police task force assigned to this, and if it, and it needs to happen immediately.
Yeah. I'm going to read this comment and then I'm going to answer what you just said. I'm going to reply to you. This viewer says some of the chop houses are quite the opposite as well. Sometimes they want to show off what the hustle is all about and to gain what it can possibly look like. So maybe they're
I've
staging the home, maybe they're buying things in the homes, the gaming units and all these things to make it look enticing for these boys. But then they turn around and they're not really being able to access these things. They can maybe access them for a short period of time, but then it's weaned off or given or taken away from them, right?
I've never seen a trap house that is
Yeah.
enticing. The parents that I've worked with, the few that actually get in contact with their child and are able to track their children, the walls are destroyed.
Hmm.
Okay, there's no trap house that looks fancy. I'm sorry to tell you. Like I've been there personally. What I'm describing to you is like hell on earth, okay? You would not want even your dog to be living in a place like this. In
Hmm.
Thunder Bay, they're running into people's houses, community members going into their houses and taking over their apartments and holding people hostage for up to a year and put our kids into their apartment buildings and feed them drugs 24/7 until
Yeah.
the police go in and raid these trap houses. This is not anything to be glorified. There's
Yeah.
no video games. There's no video games. And
Yeah.
I hope the boys are watching this right now because I know a lot of them follow me. I hope
Hmm.
they're watching. There's no video games.
Yeah.
Your life is over. It's done. And then when you get into the juvenile detention center, you get into the prison, the school to prison pipeline is where you're being ushered to.
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
get there and you think you're going to get a slap on the wrist, oh, no, no, no. Some of our boys that we find, they're still there. They're
Yeah.
still there, and they're not getting out anytime soon because harsher penalties are rolling down, as you can hear. You can hear on the news.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I wanted to address when you talked about Indigenous people. So in
mhm.
Canada, we call them Indigenous. We don't call them Native Indian. So these are the people that are being, like historically, just as the black people have been, we're being used. We're being used. These people, our people, are being used. They're being. It's just like history is replaying itself, and I don't think it ever stopped. I think it's just because we have social media now and we have so many things that students, I say students because I work with students, but they have access to so much more that it's heightened now. I think it's always been happening, all these things, but it's just like heightened now, you know the I don't know.
Yeah,
Shayla.
the indigenous
Yeah.
community, they need help as well. These predators, the same human traffickers that are preying on our children,
Yeah.
are preying on them,
Yeah.
and their vulnerabilities, their addictions, and it's just a horrible sight to see because people are walking around like zombies in the fentanyl crisis across this country. We're in a full-blown fentanyl epidemic, as well as we're in a full-blown missing boys epidemic, and the two go hand in hand.
Yeah. Before we go, we have like 10 minutes, give or take, until the end of the show. Can you tell our viewers where they can reach out to you if they'd like to either donate or follow you to find out your next steps? So the Fifth Estate show, and how to just communicate with you if they need help to find their missing boys as well.
Yeah, families somehow they find me. They always do. But you can call me. My number is very public. And you can quite often find it on my missing flyers. And you can also email me at findontaryomissingboys@gmail.com. Please sign the petition if you haven't already signed it at change.org/findontaryomissingboys. I'm on all social media platforms: X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Threads. And you can also, what are other ways you can contact me? I think that's about it. I mean, you can DM me. I check all my DMs, and reach out to me at Find Ontario Missing Boys on, preferably my Instagram is my platform of choice, but you can find me anywhere, at Shayna McCullough on Instagram as well. And at Roots Reggae Hub, that's my radio station. But yeah, I'm a multi-hyphenate entrepreneur, so I'm a busy girl. Yeah.
Although Shayna's busy, she's really good at getting back to people. And I know that firsthand because when I reached out to you, you're very, very good at getting back to people. So she's trustworthy that way. So if she says she's going to do something, she's going to do it. And so I am going to sign that petition. I'm going to go up on your petition. It's on your...
And the link for the GoFundMe, I keep on skipping over that. The link for the GoFundMe is in the bio on Instagram. That's the only place you can find the link. I haven't linked it to any other social media. So the GoFundMe link is up there if you really are moved and you do want to help, because all of the funding that has come in since the Thanksgiving broadcast where I was interviewed on City TV, all of the money since then to, till the point when we leave for Saskatchewan is going towards the search efforts in Saskatchewan from Saskatoon up to Pelican Narrows when we were coming there. And whoever sees this, I want you to know I'm heading your way, and we will be finding Josiah Weblong. So I'll see you soon, Saskatchewan.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I just have a list here that I kind of went, I went on your Instagram page and I gathered a list of people, young people that are missing. Let me know if these are still current. There's a Gabrielle, missing since November 13th, 2025. Kamal, a 6-year-old child, July 31st, 2025. Marcus, he's 15, October 29th, 2025. Josiah, who we just mentioned, March 27th, 2025. DeAndre in March, again, 20th, 2025. These dates are so like, Tomilor, is it Tomilor?
Tomilor, yeah.
29th. So the same day that Marcus went missing, I believe. So Marcus and Tomilor, same month, same day. DeAndre and Josiah, same month, days apart.
Mm-hmm.
Are any of these, I mean, Josiah's still missing. Are any of these individuals still on the current missing list?
They're all still missing, correct.
So there's coincidences, and no one can tell me that that's not a coincidence that these dates are days apart or the same day.
Yeah, it's definitely not a coincidence. Everything is connected. This is not happening in a vacuum. This is very intentional. If your child is about to, turn 15 is the prime target age, but like some people are extremely sick and they go for 9-year-old boys, and tell them things like, oh, if you come with me out to Montreal, we'll go find your dad. If their father is in another province or in another city, they groom them and lure them by promises of fake promises. to find the father that they long for, and sick things like this. People are very sick, and they don't have any morals whatsoever. And the old school OG gangster lifestyle, where kids and children and women were off limits, it's thrown out of the window. And these new age people have no morals and no ethics. And you know what? Yeah, I don't know. I can't. I have no sympathy for them. My priorities are the kids and the families that need help, that need a voice, who have been silent for too long or silenced. And Jakai Jack, I think it's important to mention him. His family needs justice. His father and his parents are suffering. His family is suffering. They've had absolutely no justice. There's the detective won't even respond to me now. And he's going to be held accountable in solving this case, and we're never going to forget about Jakai Jack, and we want his murder solved. There's cameras everywhere. People know somebody knows something, and we want the murder of Jakai Jack to be solved. And I don't want it to be to be forgotten either, because he wasn't involved. He was an innocent young boy. It was an unprovoked attack, and he was killed. And a lot of people were there, a lot of witnesses, and we need his murder to be solved. So I want to say that as well, and send my love to his family.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was a young man, a little guy, about maybe 11 years old, who died. I believe it was during the summer. It was a shooting that happened. It was a stray bullet that went through his apartment.
Well, he was 7 years old, and that's Holly Roy's son. And his murders, the people who shot through the window were found. Allegedly, that's who they are, and they will go through the justice system, and they'll get their day in court. But thankfully, I think that the Holly Roy, Javay Roy case took all the attention, and perhaps that's why Jakai Jack's case flew quite under the radar. And when I did his post, nobody even heard about it. There was also other things that happened, like the stampede over at what was it, Afrofest? I think it's called Afrofest, like the stabbing at the McDonald's. There's a bunch of things happen around that same time, and it's just like Jack's case has been completely forgotten. And I'm going to be calling the detective back, because it's hard to get to because I'm very persistent. So I really hope they solve his case, and I won't stop posting about him and raising awareness around what has happened to that boy.
Okay. Shayna, I want to say thank you so much for your time, for taking the time out to spread this awareness, to give us your knowledge and your experience, and to let us know that you are doing something about it. And if you want to help Shayna in her journey towards finding these missing boys, go and sign that petition. Go sign the petition, follow her on all her platforms, and show her that you are in her corner, supporting her and the families that are experiencing their loss. So thank you, Shayna. We're going to end the broadcast soon.
Thank you, Joel.
I just have to say thank you. If you want to say again, I guess it says it right there. Find Ontario Missing Boys.
Yeah. And I want to say thank you to you in the last minute. I just want to say thank you to Minds in Motion. Thank you for reaching out, for spreading awareness on this very important cause, and supporting the families in this conversation, this critical conversation that we're having tonight. And thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, absolutely. You're welcome. And thank you so much. That was Shayna McCullough. Thank you for tuning into Minds in Motion, where you get real talk, real strategies about real situations. Tune in next week for Minds in Motion on Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a good evening.
I'm talking Joe Podcast, Minds in Motion. Talk about relationships, help your emotions.